Hey, wonderful gurus. We are now at the messenger wrap up. We've come to the end of this first module. So we're going to wrap up, put everything together, everything that we've learned, everything we've uncovered and discovered and remembered, and just basically bring ourselves to a position where we understand what has happened, what the value of all of that was, and how we're going to continue to apply it in the future. So if you think about it, we've actually come a long way in this first module. We've covered a lot of ground. We spent a long time coming to understand ourselves and who we are as the messengers. And when you think of it, the messenger, that's us being the very people who we need to be in order to carry our light out into the world through our guru offerings, right? So that's what this entire module is about, really. If you think about it, most of the time when we have struggled to put our best work out into the world, it's usually because we are full of doubt. We're full of, even if it's not doubt, it's a lack of clarity, which is just another way of saying doubt, right? a lack of clarity. It's an inability to see the true value in who we're being or the way we need to be, perhaps, in order to experience our message really having the resonance and the power and the authority that it needs to have out in the world for people to really embrace it and be attracted by it, right? So this goes way, way, way beyond the idea of trying to find the dream client or the client avatar and all that kind of stuff, and instead saying, well, hold on, if I were the kind of version of myself that I really need to be, if I were living my own message, if I were putting myself first, if I were coming from a place of energy, engagement, enthusiasm, if I were coming from all of these places, then surely my message has got to land in a different way to the harried, exhausted, semi-fake version of me. And I'm not saying that we're all being fakes, but to some degree we are, right? The fake it till we make it, the put on the brave face, the say things in the right way to try and get people to understand and appreciate what we're talking about. Well, if we can get away from that and actually come at it from a really strong place of really strong sense of self, that changes everything. And I'm hoping from this first module you've really come to understand and appreciate that. So you now know the vital importance of the 3 E's of energy, engagement, and enthusiasm, and why that's so important to have that directed internally first and foremost before we try and project it externally, and how energy, engagement, and enthusiasm tend to govern the quality of our lives, from our relationships to our work to you name it. Like how we feel about life in general is really the result of one of those 3 E's, if not all of them, right? Is the result of those things. And so taking care of business on that front. You have a system for getting the 3 E's into your life in a predictable and reproducible way through the 5 B's. So you've now come to understand that when the 5 B's are compromised, somewhere within there, your energy, your enthusiasm, and your engagement is affected, and it's usually affected negatively. Conversely, you go out and you get your 5 B's into your life, and your 3 E's come back up again, right? And when you are abundant in the 3 E's, you're able to go out into the world as an extremely powerful and resonant messenger. When you're lacking in those areas, it's really, really difficult to show up in the world as somebody who even feels good about messaging, let alone somebody who others feel good about listening to through the message. You are hopefully in a position now where you understand your beliefs about life, the universe, and everything better than you ever have before. Most people they suffer their beliefs, or they suffer because of their beliefs, because they don't really understand their beliefs in the way that they think they do. Very few people have ever been asked to say, okay, so what do you mean by that? And what do you mean by that? And what do you mean by that? And this difference, this understanding of the difference between an intellectual belief, which is really nothing more than an idea about something, and a functional belief, one that is actually out there being lived in the world, and the gap between the two. And again, it's that gap between our intellectual and our functional that causes us to kind of go through the self-doubt and the who the fuck am I aspect of life, right? Kind of who the fuck am I to say this or teach others that because I'm not even doing it myself. It's the gap between intellectual and functional. So hopefully you understand that a lot better than you have. And you also have a better understanding of the restrictions of your roles and the limits of your labels and the conditions that you tend to create around what you can and can't do and what isn't possible for you across all the different areas of your life. When you slip on that mom or dad or brother or sister or entrepreneur or business owner hat, and how those roles shift and change, and how those shifts and changes affect you and how you show up, you've got a better understanding of that. So all of that is the area of the map itself. I've described it as the map, the terrain of your life. Those are really kind of energy, engagement, enthusiasm, the 5 B's, the beliefs. Boom, that's the map. That's how you see where everything is in your life. but you also have to have that compass to guide you across the terrain of your life. And as you found out, that's your values. And values are nothing more, but nothing less either than a kind of a heightened sense of beliefs, right? Beliefs that you place above and beyond the importance of all others. And really, values are your internal application of beliefs that are most important to you and who and how you want to experience it as yourself as being, right, as you go about the days of your life. And then you have your showing up words, the way in which you want others to experience you as you go about living your beliefs and as you go about delivering your message. Okay, so like I said, we've covered a lot of ground. And we're nearly done with the work for this module. But it's important to understand that this doesn't mean that the work of the module ends. In fact, it's just beginning. Right? The work of this module is just beginning. In fact, what we've done will form the basis of literally every module and every exercise and mission moving forward. So don't for 1 minute think that these things are gone and right, we've done that bit and put it behind us. They will feature even more strongly as we move through. You'll be invited to constantly check if your 3 E's are present, constantly check if you've taken care of your 5 B's, constantly check if in the article you're writing or the piece of content you're about to put out into the world, if your beliefs and values and everything else are actually out there in the way you want to, and if your showing up words are, showing up, if that's coming through. Like, if I'm going to create a piece of content now, I need to know, okay, did I have energy, engagement, enthusiasm in myself before I even sat down to create it? Are my values in there? Truth, joy, and love, are they coming through? But I also want people to experience my material as being powerful, courageous, and compassionate. Is all of that there? So you can see how it forms this matrix, this nexus of self that shows up through everything. We're not leaving anything behind, okay? All of this is being carried into the next module. So before we close out this module entirely, there are a few what I would like to call mini missions. So instead of they might still take a little bit of time to kind of work through, but I think by this point you're going to have most of the clarity you need in order to address them fairly quickly. Okay, and this is just a way of us, I guess, taking all of this more extensive work and abbreviating it, like bringing it down into something. Imagine you were to carry around like a little note card in your pocket about who you're going to be and how you're going to show up in the world and what you need to remember. It's the ability to go out without the kind of the reams and reams of paperwork that you've done up to this point in the program. Okay, so the first mini mission is this: who are you without your roles and your labels? Think about that for a second. Who are you without your roles and your labels? If you don't know who you are, like if you know who you are as a mum and a dad and all the rest of it, but who are you without the roles and the labels? And if you don't know who you are, you can only ever really grow the label. You can't grow as the person completely, right? Think about that. Like, I can become a better mum. I can become a better dad. Well, I can't become a better mum, I suppose. But you can become a better mum, better dad, a better entrepreneur, a better something. You can grow the label. But who are you as a person? Who are you as a person when you take away all of the labels and all the roles that currently go alongside of your life? Who are you? Okay, so here's an example, and this will be in my more what I call my flowery language. But it is actually how I think. Like, I went to my own notes, and again, these are fairly well established for me in my life anyway. I've been thinking this way for a long time. But without my roles and my labels, I'm powerful beyond measure. I'm a child of God. I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form, but I do have a concept of God, and I believe that I am a child of God. I believe I'm a beautiful widow. I'm a source of light and love and laughter. I'm nothing and I'm everything, and I'm a guru. These are the things that I actually believe. And in fact, that first section there, I'm powerful beyond measure, which you'll maybe kind of recognize from the Marianne Williamson quote, right? Well, I actually have a tattoo on my wrist in Temple Thai script. It says Shan Kupu Yin Yai, and it actually means I am powerful beyond measure. It's what I really believe about myself. And probably out of all of that stuff there, probably the only part that actually conforms to a label again is I'm a guru. But because I've got such a well-defined version of that, I've kind of allowed myself, I've entitled myself to have the word guru in there, a form of label. But the rest of it is actually just about me. And if I remember those things about myself, and I can be powerful beyond measure as a father, as a son, as a brother, as an entrepreneur, as a messenger, as a whatever. I can be all those things and be my label. These are the things that I see myself as being, outside of the labels. And so you're being invited to kind of remind yourself that. And, it might be something that becomes a mantra for yourself in the future if you believe in that sort of thing and if you see value in it. I certainly do, but not everyone does. But I remind myself of this. I am powerful beyond measure. I'm a child of God. I'm a beautiful. These are things I remind myself constantly. And this is, I believe, why I'm able to go through life really, really believing this, because I'm reinforcing this over and over again. I don't know who I'm going to be as a dad tomorrow. I know who I intend to be, but I don't know. But I know that I'm powerful beyond measure. Always. I know that. I really, truly believe that, right? So that's the first thing. That's the first of the mini missions. Second, what conditions will you place upon yourself going forward? We've already addressed conditions and roles and all of that side of stuff, right? So really, if life is going to be really and truly meaningful to us, instead of having other people's conditions placed upon us, what are the conditions we're going to place upon ourselves? Now, I've put down here as sentence stems, I am ready or I'm enough if. And that's just because people are often telling themselves that they're not ready and they have conditions about not being ready, or I'm not enough yet, right? And I'll be enough when. And so this is where I'm starting. But whatever you believe is the condition that's holding you up the most. I feel this is true for a lot of people. Like they've got limits and restrictions around readiness or being enough. But if you think there's another dominant condition that takes over even more, then use that area, right? So here's an example from me. I am ready and I'm enough if I believe in what I share, if I'm sincere, if I'm sharing my truth without trying to make it someone else's, if I'm intending good for all, if I'm not harming others, and I'm not allowing others to harm me. That's how I decide if I'm ready and if I'm enough. I'm ready. Like if I ever sit here in doubt, yeah, but are you really ready for this? Hold on. Go back to, what did you say? I believe in what I'm sharing. I'm being sincere about it. I'm sharing my truth without making it someone else's. I'm intending good for all. I'm not harming others by doing it, and I'm not allowing others to harm me. Yes, I'm ready. I can get up. I can do this today. Less of my bullshit, less of me getting in the way of myself. And I have already decided in advance what ready and what enough means. And so that's what you're being invited to do here. Just, again, create your own statement. It doesn't have to, it can be more elements to it than this. It can be less elements to this. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 things. You go, I'm ready if this and this. What I normally found is, if you've, kind of somewhere between, I think I've got 6 or 7 elements there, somewhere between 6 and 10 kind of things that remind you about you being ready or you being enough or whatever it is, it's usually enough for you to say, that's usable. I can carry that into the world. I can carry that into the world. Next time I have doubt about whether I'm ready or enough, all I've got to do is remind myself that, hey, Dax, look, all you're doing is sharing your own truth. You're not saying that other people have to believe you. You're sharing your own. And you sharing your own isn't going to harm anybody else, and you're only sharing it with a good intention, and you're sharing it sincerely, and it's what you believe. Cool, you're ready. Go do it. And I'm hoping you can see the power and the potential of that. So that's what you're being invited to do in this section of the mini mission. Okay, so the third exercise, the third mini mission here, is to answer the question, when life works for me. I do these things, and I don't do these things. And you can think about this quite simply, right? Essentially, this is going to tie directly somewhere into your 5 Bs, isn't it? So for me, I'd say I do these things. I meditate. I take care of my own health first. I put myself first. I make myself the center of my universe. I drink plenty of water. Whatever it happens to be, right? And I don't do these things. So I don't stay up late every night of the week. I don't drink alcohol kind of, overly frequently. I don't, whatever it happens to be. You've got your own prescription. So by this point of the program, if life hasn't taught you this already, then certainly the last few weeks on the program of figuring out your 5 Bs and what makes you feel better and what makes you feel worse, you already understand what these things are, right? So when life works for me, and again, somewhere between 5 and 10 things in each list. When life works for me, I do these and I don't do these. How simple is that? Very, very simple. But it's like a précis. It's like a kind of a cheat sheet, a reminder for yourself, okay? And then finally, and I've gone ahead and called it an essay, but it's your wrap up of this module. So from this module, from the module that's called the Messenger, I've learned. What have you learned? What have you taken away? What have been some of the insights and enlightenments and areas where you thought you were clear but you weren't, and areas where you thought you weren't clear but you were? What were your takeaways? And what I'm going to invite you to do is to produce the essay. I mean, this is for you, right? This is your wrap up. And if you're thinking in your mind, you know what, I don't need to write this down, I just keep it in my head. Please, please, please don't do that. Please actually write it. There's a different level of thought that goes into actually trying to frame your words in a kind of a way that if you say to yourself, you know what, a month from now I might need this, and it is true. In a month from now, you probably will need it. There are some things that you'll be starting to forget, or some doubt that's coming into your mind, or some you know, as we get kind of deep into some other work, you're going to get frustrated or fearful or doubtful or whatever it happens to be. And when that day comes, you're going to want to come back to this essay and say, oh, I'm not as lost as I thought I was. I'm not as off track as I thought I was. I've simply been forgetting to do some of this stuff. And so I'm going to invite you to both write the essay, but then you know, you don't have to read it literally word for word, but in your checkout video for this module, share the essay, share what you've learned. I've learned this, I've taken away that. Here's some stuff that kind of I didn't realize before, and here's some stuff I did realize but I wasn't doing, or whatever it happens to be, right? But just share it. Let's round this module out with a lot of light. Remember, it's the GuRu project. You started in the dark, and we brought the light. Share that light, and that's it. That's all you've got to do. Honestly, like, it might sound like you go, wow, there's actually 4 missions in there, but actually, no. I've got a feeling they're going to be fairly quick and fairly simple for you. Simply because they're the things that we've already been talking about. You're just asked to speak about them again and speak about them mostly in a nutshelled version, right? Just kind of getting down to the bullet point aspects of it rather than the longer versions, apart from that last exercise, which is the essay. So that's it. Looking forward to hearing your responses to this. Get to it. Take care.